Welcome to Audio Mentors, the channel where we transform the most influential books into practical lessons for your life. Today we begin with a complete summary of an extraordinary work, Principles by Ray Dalio, a book that compiles decades of learning from one of the most successful investors in the world. If you're looking for inspiration and tools to achieve your goals, this audiobook is for you. Without further ado, let's dive into the first chapter, The Call to Adventure, where we'll explore Ray Dalio's early years and the lessons that marked the beginning of his journey. Chapter 1. The Call to Adventure, 1949 to 1967. Ray Dalio was born in 1949 in Long Island, New York, to a middle-class family. His father was a jazz musician and his mother was a homemaker. From a young age, Ray displayed a curious and self-reliant personality. However, his academic performance was unremarkable, as he had a poor memory for information he deemed irrelevant and didn't enjoy following instructions. Despite this, he always sought to understand things in his own way. At the age of 12, he started working as a caddy at a local golf club. There he overheard golfers discussing the stock market, a topic that piqued his interest. Using the money he had saved, he decided to invest in Northeast Airlines because its stock was cheap, costing less than $5. To his surprise, the investment tripled in value. Although the outcome was more a matter of luck than strategy, this experience excited him and inspired him to learn more about financial markets. From that point on, Dalio began devouring any information he could find about investing. He read financial reports and learned about companies, laying the groundwork for the analytical approach he would develop years later. What Ray discovered during this initial stage was a lesson that would shape his life. Mistakes and successes are opportunities to learn, grow, and move closer to greater goals. This was the first chapter of Principles by Ray Dalio. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe to Audio Mentors and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode. In the next chapter, we'll explore how Ray Dalio began to forge his worldview while facing unexpected challenges. See you in the next chapter. Chapter 2. Crossing the Threshold, 1967 to 1979. Ray entered C.W. Post College in 1967, admitted under special conditions due to his poor high school grades. Unlike his earlier education, he found college to be an environment where he could learn about topics that genuinely interested him, like finance. It was here that he began to excel academically and show a genuine enthusiasm for understanding how markets worked. A key moment in his life came in 1968, when he discovered transcendental meditation, inspired by the Beatles who had traveled to India to learn it. This practice became a fundamental tool that Ray used to maintain calm and clarity in both his personal and professional life. During his student years, financial markets remained a central interest. It was a period when the U.S. economy experienced radical changes. Between 1967 and 1979, the market shifted from stability to chaos. Ray lost money investing in stocks during this time of high volatility, but he learned essential lessons. One of the most important was that prices reflect people's expectations and rise or fall depending on whether those expectations are met. This taught him to view markets from a more analytical and objective perspective. In 1971, Ray witnessed one of the most significant events in global economics: the U.S. abandonment of the gold standard, announced by President Nixon. This event marked the beginning of an era of currency fluctuations and profoundly impacted how Dalio understood cause and effect relationships in financial markets. It was also a humbling lesson for him as he realized that, despite thinking he knew a lot about markets, he had been caught off guard by an unexpected event. This led him to a crucial reflection. You'd better understand what has happened before in other places and times, to avoid repeating past mistakes. During these years, Ray also discovered the futures market for commodities. He found this market fascinating because it required in-depth analysis of supply and demand relationships in specific sectors like corn, soybeans, and livestock. This is where he began developing models to understand price movements, a skill he would later refine for other markets. Ray's personal life also advanced during this stage. In 1973, while working on Wall Street, he met Barbara, a Spanish woman who spoke little English. Despite the language barrier, they built a strong relationship that eventually blossomed into marriage and a united family. Professionally, Ray experienced ups and downs. He was hired by several major firms, but his methods and personality didn't always fit. For example, during his time at Shearson he was fired for his unconventional behavior, which included hiring a stripper for a conference. However, instead of being discouraged, he used these experiences to better understand himself and define what he truly wanted, to carve his own path. In 1975, Ray decided to found Bridgewater Associates from the modest apartment he shared with friends. He began by helping companies manage financial risks in commodity markets, but his vision went far beyond that, to create a system based on clear, replicable principles that would help him make decisions consistently and objectively. Ray not only worked for his clients but also continued investing his own money. This approach, though risky, allowed him to learn more quickly. Every mistake he made led him to formulate new principles to avoid repeating them. This is how he began to build the framework that would later become the heart of his life and business philosophy. During this stage, Ray understood that markets are like machines operating through cause and effect relationships. He learned the importance of analyzing every situation objectively, without being influenced by emotions or preconceived notions. Most importantly, he began applying this approach not only to the markets but also to his personal and professional life. Chapter 3. My Abyss, 1979 to 1982. During this period of his life, Ray Dalio faced one of the most challenging moments in his career and personal life. Between 1979 and 1982, he experienced significant failures that brought him to the brink of bankruptcy. However, these experiences became the most valuable lessons of his life, eventually forming the foundation of his principles-based approach. By the late 1970s, financial markets were in chaos. Inflation rates reached record highs, debt soared uncontrollably, and the global economy faced a series of consecutive crises. Passionate about understanding these forces, Ray developed models to predict market behavior based on the cause and effect relationships he observed in historical data. He was convinced his analytical approach was foolproof. In 1980, Ray predicted that the U.S. economy was on the verge of a major depression. He based this assertion on his analysis of economic cycles and the Federal Reserve's policies to combat inflation. Confident in his conclusion, he shared this prediction publicly, even testifying before Congress. He was absolutely certain his analysis was correct. However, the opposite happened. Instead of plunging into a depression, the U.S. economy began to recover. The Federal Reserve successfully controlled inflation, and the financial markets entered a period of expansion. This misjudgment had devastating consequences for Ray and his company Bridgewater Associates. He lost the trust of many clients and, most importantly, much of his own money. He found himself in a position where he could barely pay his personal bills, even reaching the point of borrowing money from his father to support his family. This was a humbling moment for Ray but also a turning point. Reflecting on his mistakes, he realized something fundamental. No matter how certain you are about something, there's always a possibility you could be wrong. This principle became one of the cornerstones of his life and investment philosophy. Ray learned to approach every decision with humility and to actively seek opposing viewpoints to challenge his ideas. To avoid repeating the same mistakes, Ray began developing a principles-based system. This system helped him make decisions more systematically and reduce the influence of emotions in the process. He also started recording all his decisions and their outcomes, enabling him to identify patterns and adjust his approach over time. During this stage, Ray also deepened his practice of meditation, which helped him remain calm amidst adversity. Meditation became a crucial tool for managing stress and pressure and approaching problems with a clearer and more creative mind. Despite financial difficulties, Ray never stopped working on Bridgewater. He continued developing his models and systems, learning from each mistake and refining his strategies. Gradually, he began rebuilding his reputation and regaining the trust of his clients. This phase of his life transformed him not just as an investor but also as a person. Key lesson of the chapter. The most painful failures are often the most valuable experiences. Ray learned that the key to success isn't avoiding mistakes but facing them with humility, learning from them and using them as opportunities to grow. This principle became the core of his philosophy. Always approach challenges with an open mind and a willingness to adapt. Chapter closing. Ray Dalio's fall between 1979 and 1982 was a turning point that led him to build the framework of principles that would later make him successful. In the next chapter, we will explore how he began implementing these principles to transform not only his personal life but also his company, Bridgewater Associates. Chapter 4. A Path of Trials, 1983 to 1994. After hitting rock bottom, Ray Dalio began to rebuild his life and his company. This stage was marked by the slow but steady growth of Bridgewater Associates and the implementation of the principles he had learned through his failures. Between 1983 and 1994, Dalio faced new challenges, both personal and professional, that tested his determination and decision-making system. In 1983, Bridgewater was still a small company, barely generating enough revenue to stay afloat. However, Ray decided to focus on what he called meaningful work, solving complex problems for his clients and building relationships based on transparency and trust. Through this approach, he began attracting new clients, including large corporations and institutional funds that needed specialized advice to manage financial risks. It was during this period that Ray began refining his principles-based method. Every decision he made, every success and every failure was documented and analyzed. Over time, this process helped him identify patterns he could apply consistently. For Ray, the goal wasn't just to make better decisions but to build a system that was replicable and could operate independently of him. Principles are like recipes for success, he would say. One of the most significant milestones of this period was the creation of a computerized decision-making system at Bridgewater. This system was based on algorithms that incorporated the principles and rules Ray had developed. This allowed investment and management decisions to be made more objectively, eliminating emotional bias and increasing process efficiency. This innovative approach made Bridgewater a pioneer in leveraging technology for financial management. On a personal level, Ray remained deeply devoted to his family. With his wife Barbara and their children, he worked hard to balance his professional and personal life. Although his work at Bridgewater demanded countless hours and energy, Ray always found time to be present for important moments at home. This dedication also shaped his vision of success. For him, success wasn't just about making money but about building a meaningful and fulfilling life. However, not everything came easily. Ray faced several challenges, both internal and external. Professionally, there were moments when his market predictions proved incorrect, leading to significant losses for his clients. Yet rather than becoming discouraged, he used these experiences to refine his models and principles. Every mistake is an opportunity to learn something new, he would say. One of the most remarkable aspects of this period was the creation of a unique culture at Bridgewater. Ray aspired to build a place where ideas could be discussed openly, without fear of judgment or repercussions. This led to the implementation of a radical transparency approach, where all decisions, ideas, and opinions were critically analyzed by the team. While initially controversial, this approach eventually became one of the company's greatest strengths. In 1991, Bridgewater reached a significant turning point. The firm began managing large amounts of money for institutional clients, boosting its reputation and revenue. This success was the result of years of steady work, overcoming mistakes, and unwavering dedication to principles. Key lesson of the chapter. During this period, Ray learned that true growth happens when challenges are faced with courage and failures are used as opportunities to improve. His principles-based approach not only helped him overcome adversity but also laid the foundation for sustainable success. Chapter closing. Between 1983 and 1994, Ray Dalio transformed Bridgewater from a small financial firm into a globally recognized company. It was a path filled with trials but also with lessons that strengthened his life and business philosophy. In the next chapter, we will explore how Ray took Bridgewater to the next level, facing even greater challenges and reaping the rewards of his efforts. Chapter 5. The Ultimate Reward, 1995 to 2010. Between 1995 and 2010, Ray Dalio and Bridgewater Associates achieved extraordinary levels of success, establishing themselves as one of the largest and most profitable investment funds in the world. However, this period was not solely defined by financial achievements but also by the personal and professional challenges that came with rapid growth and the responsibilities of leading such a large organization. By 1995, Bridgewater was already known for its unique principles-based approach and its ability to manage substantial funds for institutional clients. During this time, Ray and his team began developing a model called all-weather. This model aimed to create an investment portfolio resilient to any economic environment, whether growth, recession, inflation, or deflation. This strategy was based on the idea that while the future is uncertain, the fundamental principles of markets follow predictable patterns. The all-weather approach became one of Bridgewater's greatest innovations and a key pillar of its success. During these years, Bridgewater also emerged as a leader in risk management. Ray and his team strongly believed in understanding the cause and effect relationships among various elements of the global economy. This approach enabled the firm to anticipate major events, such as the 2008 financial crisis. Instead of being negatively affected, Bridgewater managed to generate positive returns for its clients during one of the most challenging periods in modern economic history. But financial success was not the only defining aspect of this period. Ray continued to refine Bridgewater's culture, grounded in radical transparency and idea meritocracy. In this culture, every opinion was heard, and decisions were made based on the credibility of the person expressing them, rather than their hierarchical position. To ensure this approach worked, Ray implemented technological tools that objectively assessed each team member's contributions. While initially challenging to implement, this culture eventually became one of Bridgewater's most significant differentiators. On a personal level, Ray also experienced meaningful moments during this time. Despite his professional responsibilities, he always made an effort to maintain a balance with his family life. This was a period when he deeply reflected on the meaning of success and the importance of giving back to society. These reflections led him to write and share his principles with a broader audience, hoping they could help others navigate their own challenges. One of the biggest challenges of this stage was learning to delegate. As Bridgewater grew, Ray realized he couldn't do everything himself. He had to trust his team and allow others to make critical decisions. Although this was not easy, it became a crucial step in ensuring the company's sustainable growth. In 2010, Bridgewater reached a historic milestone by becoming the largest hedge fund in the world, managing more money than any other fund in history. This achievement was the result of decades of consistent work, lessons learned from mistakes, and an unwavering commitment to principles. Key lesson of the chapter: true success is not measured solely by financial achievements but by the ability to build something sustainable, meaningful, and capable of transcending the individual. Ray learned that the greatest challenges are not external but internal, learning to lead, delegate, and remain humble amidst success. Chapter closing. Between 1995 and 2010, Ray Dalio reached the pinnacle of his career, demonstrating that solid principles and a disciplined approach can lead to extraordinary results. However, this success also raised new questions about purpose and legacy. In the next chapter, we will explore how Ray faced these challenges and began to give back the rewards of his success to the world. Chapter 6. Giving Back the Reward, 2011 to 2015. After decades of success, Ray Dalio entered a phase of reflection and contribution. Between 2011 and 2015, he not only solidified Bridgewater Associates as the largest hedge fund in the world but also began focusing on giving back some of what he had learned and earned over the years. This period marked a pivotal transition in his life, from building a company to building a legacy. By 2011, Ray was recognized as one of the most influential investors in the world. His principles-based approach, radical transparency, and ability to foresee major economic events had made him a respected figure not only in finance but also in fields such as education, politics, and personal development. At this point, however, Ray began to feel that his mission extended beyond managing money to sharing the lessons that had transformed his life. It was during this period that he decided to publish his principles, a set of rules and values he had developed over the years to guide both his personal and professional life. Initially, these principles were only available to Bridgewater employees, but Ray saw the potential of making them accessible to a wider audience. He first shared them publicly in a PDF, which was downloaded millions of times worldwide. This document became the foundation for the book that would later achieve global bestseller status. "My goal is not for people to follow my principles to the letter," Ray wrote, "but for each person to develop their own based on their experiences and values." This philosophy reflected his belief in the importance of introspection, humility, and adaptability. Meanwhile, Bridgewater continued to excel in its performance. Its all-weather strategy and flagship fund, Pure Alpha, continued to deliver outstanding returns for its clients, even in a challenging economic environment. The firm was not only managing vast amounts of money but had also become a hub of innovation, where advanced technologies and methodologies for decision-making were being developed. However, Ray also faced personal and professional challenges during this period. Delegating the leadership of Bridgewater was one of the biggest hurdles of his career. Although he had built a talented team, stepping back from involvement in every detail was a difficult process. Learning to let go, he said, is one of the most important things you can do when you want to build something that transcends your own life. On a personal level, Ray increasingly focused on his family and philanthropic projects. Inspired by his passion for education, he began working on initiatives to teach economic and financial principles to young people around the world. He believed that understanding how economic systems work was fundamental to making better life decisions. In 2015, Ray officially stepped down as CEO of Bridgewater, marking the start of a new chapter in his life. While he remained involved as a mentor and advisor, he was no longer responsible for daily operations. This change allowed him to devote more time to writing, reflecting, and contributing to causes he considered important. Key lesson of the chapter. Ray learned that true success is not only about what you build but also about what you share and leave as a legacy. This period of his life was marked by a transition toward a broader purpose, where the focus shifted from what he could achieve to how he could help others achieve their own goals. Chapter closing. Between 2011 and 2015, Ray Dalio began transforming his success into a broader impact, sharing his principles and dedicating himself to projects that reflected his vision of a better world. In the next chapter, we will explore how he faced one of the greatest challenges of his life while reflecting on his legacy and contributions to the future. Chapter 7. My Final Year and Greatest Challenge, 2016 to 2017. At this stage of his life, Ray Dalio faced one of his greatest personal and professional challenges while consolidating his legacy. Between 2016 and 2017, he focused on reflecting on the lessons of his life, structuring his principles, and confronting the challenge of fully stepping away from the daily operations of Bridgewater Associates. In 2016, Ray began to realize that his time leading Bridgewater needed to come to an end. Although he had spent decades building and running the firm, he knew that to ensure its sustainability, the organization needed to operate without him. However, this process was far from easy. Ray grappled with the complexities of finding leaders who shared his vision and could uphold the company's unique culture. To ensure a successful transition, Ray implemented a governance system at Bridgewater based on clear principles and transparent rules. This system was designed to ensure that important decisions were made objectively and without dependence on any one individual, including himself. While this approach was innovative, it also involved difficulties as some team members questioned whether the company could thrive without his direct leadership. During this time, Ray also continued refining and sharing his principles. He dedicated himself to structuring his book Principles, compiling not only the rules that had guided him in business but also those he had applied to his personal life. The key to a fulfilling life, he said, is to identify your own principles, refine them and live by them. On a personal level, Ray faced health challenges that reminded him of the importance of maintaining a balance between work and life. These moments led him to deeply reflect on his purpose and how he wanted to spend the remaining years of his life. He recognized that while he had achieved extraordinary success in business, his true satisfaction came from the meaningful relationships he had built with his family, friends, and team. 2017 marked an important milestone as Ray decided to take a definitive step back from his role at Bridgewater. While he remained a key mentor to the organization, he officially left operational management, allowing new leaders to take the reins. This was an emotionally challenging moment for Ray but also a testament to his trust in the principles and systems he had created throughout his career. At the same time, Ray devoted more time to philanthropic and educational projects. One of his major focuses was working on initiatives to teach fundamental economic principles to younger generations. He firmly believed that understanding how economic and financial systems work was essential for making better decisions, not only in business but also in everyday life. Despite the personal and professional challenges, this period was also one of the most fulfilling of his life. Ray found a new purpose in sharing his insights and helping others build their own paths to success. My greatest achievement, he said, is not what I've built but what I can leave for others. Key lesson of the chapter. Ray Dalio learned that the greatest challenge for a leader is not building something great but entrusting it to others so it can thrive without them. This period was marked by reflection, dedication, and trust in the systems he had created to endure beyond his time. Chapter closing. Between 2016 and 2017, Ray Dalio faced the challenge of closing an important chapter in his life while focusing on building a legacy that could inspire and help future generations. In the next chapter, we will explore how Ray reflected on his life from the heights, sharing the most important lessons from his journey. Chapter 8. Looking back from the heights. With decades of accumulated experience and after having built one of the world's most successful investment funds, Ray Dalio dedicated this chapter of his life to reflecting on his journey and sharing the deepest lessons he had learned. Looking back from the heights meant not only celebrating his achievements but also examining his mistakes, valuing the relationships he had built, and considering what truly mattered at the end of his life. Ray began this phase with a practice that had always been essential to him, reflecting on his successes and failures. In this introspection, he reaffirmed that his greatest lessons did not come from moments of triumph but from failures he faced with humility and curiosity. The most painful moments, he said, are the ones that teach you the most if you approach them with the right mindset. One of Ray's greatest realizations was understanding that life is like a machine, composed of cause and effect relationships that can be understood and improved over time. This principle applied not only to financial markets but also to personal and professional life. Over the years, he had honed his ability to identify patterns, anticipate problems, and design solutions based on solid principles. Ray also reflected on the meaning of success. For him, success was not just about financial achievements but about building a full and meaningful life. This included maintaining deep relationships with his family and friends, contributing to society's well-being, and leaving a legacy that could inspire others. He realized that his greatest accomplishments were not in the numbers but in the ideas and values he had conveyed through his work and principles. An important aspect of this stage was his dedication to sharing his knowledge with younger generations. Through talks, interviews, and the publication of his book Principles, Ray sought to teach others how to build a life and career based on a clear and replicable system. His goal was not for people to follow his principles to the letter but to develop their own based on their experiences and values. We all have our own goals and ways of being, Ray said, and we must find principles that align with who we are and what we want to achieve. From this perspective, Ray began to consider how he wanted to be remembered. Although he had achieved extraordinary success in finance, he felt that his true legacy would lie in the impact his ideas and principles had on other people's lives. This focus led him to become more involved in philanthropic projects, especially in the field of economic and financial education. In his personal life, Ray also spent more time with his family, savoring the simple and meaningful moments that had sometimes gone unnoticed amidst the pressures of business. As he approached a new phase, he valued the relationships he had built and the love that surrounded him more than ever. Key lesson of the chapter. Ray Dalio understood that true wealth lies not in money but in meaningful relationships, accumulated lessons, and the positive impact we leave on the world. Looking back from the heights is an opportunity to value the journey, learn from mistakes, and share the best of ourselves with others. Chapter closing. This chapter marks the end of an important phase in Ray Dalio's life, but not the conclusion of his journey. His reflections and principles continue to inspire people worldwide to live a more conscious life rooted in values and profound learnings. In the next segment, we will explore how his life and work principles can be applied in our own lives to achieve extraordinary results. Chapter 9. Embrace and face reality. After reflecting on his life and achievements, Ray Dalio began detailing the principles that had guided him throughout his journey. The first and most fundamental was, embrace and face reality. For Ray, this principle represented the foundation of any success, both in personal life and in business. Ray believed that most people avoid confronting reality because it can be uncomfortable or painful. However, he insisted that avoiding reality only leads to bigger problems in the long term. According to him, the first step toward achieving any goal is to see the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. This includes acknowledging your strengths and weaknesses and understanding the external forces that influence your decisions. Truth is the foundation of any good decision, Ray said. If you're not willing to see things as they truly are, you'll never be able to solve problems or seize opportunities effectively. To practice this principle, Ray emphasized developing a mindset of openness and humility. This means being willing to listen to different perspectives and consider the possibility that you might be wrong. Throughout his life, Ray learned that one of the best ways to face reality was to surround himself with intelligent people who could challenge his ideas and provide new perspectives. It's not just about seeking truth but finding the best truths available, he affirmed. One of the most powerful examples Ray used to illustrate this principle was his own experience during the 2008 financial crisis. While his analysis allowed him to anticipate the market collapse, he also had to accept that there were aspects he couldn't predict or control. Instead of resisting reality, he adjusted his strategies and successfully protected his clients' capital, generating positive returns at a time when most investors were losing money. Embracing and facing reality also means accepting mistakes as part of the learning process. Ray insisted that mistakes are not failures but opportunities to improve. For this reason, he always encouraged his team at Bridgewater Associates to document their mistakes, analyze them, and extract principles to apply in the future. This approach not only helped Ray make better decisions but also fostered a culture of honesty and continuous improvement within his company. At Bridgewater, admitting mistakes was not a sign of weakness but a demonstration of strength and commitment to truth. Key lesson of the chapter: embracing and facing reality is the foundation for making intelligent decisions and achieving success. This principle requires courage, humility, and a constant willingness to learn from mistakes and adapt to changing circumstances. Chapter closing. The principle of embracing and facing reality is a powerful lesson that can transform the way we approach challenges. In the next chapter, we will explore the 5-step process that Ray Dalio developed to achieve any goal in life, using truth as its starting point. Chapter 10. The 5-step process to achieve anything you want in life. In this chapter, Ray Dalio presents his 5-step process, a methodology he developed over his lifetime to achieve any goal, whether in business, finance, or personal life. This process, simple yet profoundly powerful, became the core of his success and life philosophy. Ray describes this process as a systematic approach to overcoming obstacles and progressing toward your goals, rooted in honesty, reflection, and action. The 5 steps are as follows. Have clear goals. The first step to achieving anything is defining what you truly want. Ray insists that having clear goals is crucial because without a specific objective, you can't know where to focus your efforts. Be ambitious but also realistic, he advises. This means setting goals that are challenging but achievable and being flexible enough to adjust your goals as your life evolves. Ray also highlights the importance of prioritizing your goals. Not everything you desire is equally important, and trying to pursue too many things simultaneously can be counterproductive. Focus on what you value most and sacrifice what matters less, he explains. Identify problems that stand in the way of your goals. Once you have clear goals, the next step is to identify the problems that stand in your way. Ray points out that many people avoid facing problems because they can be uncomfortable or intimidating. However, he insists that problems are opportunities in disguise. Every problem contains a valuable lesson, says Ray. This step requires honesty and courage to confront both external obstacles and your own internal weaknesses. According to Ray, being aware of your limitations is a strength because it allows you to work on them or find ways to compensate for them. 3. Diagnose problems to find their root causes. Ray compares this step to the work of a doctor. You cannot treat a symptom without understanding its underlying cause. Problems are like onions. You need to peel back the layers to get to the core, he explains. Diagnosing involves deep and thoughtful analysis. This means asking questions like, why did this problem arise? What factors are driving it? Are there similar patterns in other areas of my life? Ray highlights the importance of not blaming others or external circumstances but focusing on what you can control and change. 4. Design a plan to overcome problems. Once you understand the root causes of your problems, the next step is to design a clear and practical plan to overcome them. This plan should include specific steps and clear priorities. Ray suggests breaking problems into smaller, more manageable parts, making the solutions easier to implement. He also insists that your plan must align with your principles and values. You can't build something sustainable if it conflicts with who you truly are, he explains. Designing a good plan requires creativity but also the discipline to execute it. 5. Execute the plan with determination. The final step is the most critical: taking action. According to Ray, many people have good ideas and solid plans but fail to execute them due to a lack of consistency or determination. Great ideas are worth nothing if you don't act on them, he says. Ray emphasizes the importance of measuring your progress and adjusting your approach as needed. Not everything will go as expected, but the key is to learn from each attempt and keep moving forward. Execution is where the magic happens, he affirms. Key lesson of the chapter. Ray Dalio's 5-step process is a powerful tool for addressing any challenge and achieving goals effectively. This approach combines introspection, analysis, and action, rooted in the belief that every obstacle is an opportunity to learn and improve. Chapter closing. The 5-step process has been one of the keys to Ray Dalio's success and can be applied in any area of life. In the next chapter, we'll explore how Ray uses this process alongside his principle of open-mindedness to make smarter and more effective decisions. Chapter 11. The importance of open-mindedness. In this chapter, Ray Dalio delves into one of the principles that has most influenced his life and career: open-mindedness. For Ray, the ability to question your own beliefs, listen to opposing ideas, and be willing to change your mind is essential for making intelligent decisions and achieving success. Ray begins by explaining that most people tend to cling to their own opinions because it is more comfortable and less challenging. However, this mental rigidity can be one of the greatest barriers to growth and learning. What you don't know is far more important than what you already know, he states. This principle led him to actively seek differing opinions and surround himself with people who didn't always agree with him. The key lies in humility and curiosity. Ray explains that practicing open-mindedness requires 2 fundamental qualities: humility and curiosity. Humility allows you to accept that you don't have all the answers and that you might be wrong. Curiosity, on the other hand, drives you to explore new ideas and perspectives. Ray shares how, in his youth, his lack of humility led him to make costly mistakes. It was only after facing significant failures that he learned the importance of listening to others and considering opposing viewpoints. Every time you encounter someone who disagrees with you, you have an opportunity to learn something new, he says. The idea meritocracy at Bridgewater. This principle became the foundation of the culture at Bridgewater Associates, where Ray implemented what he called an idea meritocracy. In this culture, the best ideas win regardless of who proposes them. All opinions are heard, analyzed, and evaluated objectively. This means that even the youngest employees have the opportunity to challenge decisions made by leaders, including Ray himself. To make this possible, Bridgewater developed technological tools to record and evaluate each team member's contributions. One of the most innovative methods was the use of credibility assessments, in which each person had a score based on their track record of successful decisions. This approach allowed Ray and his team to make data-driven decisions rather than relying on hierarchies. Be firm in your goals, but flexible in how you achieve them. Ray also emphasizes the importance of balancing conviction with flexibility. While it is crucial to have clear goals and solid principles, it is equally necessary to adapt to changing circumstances and be willing to adjust your plans. The world is too complex to predict with certainty, he says. The key is to learn quickly and be ready to change when circumstances require it. Practicing open-mindedness in daily life. Ray suggests several practical steps to develop open-mindedness. Seek opposing opinions. Surround yourself with people who think differently from you. They can help you see things you might have overlooked. Listen before reacting. When someone critiques or challenges you, resist the urge to respond immediately. Instead, try to understand their perspective. Apply the reality test. Don't cling to an idea just because it seems logical. Test it in the real world. Create an environment of trust. Surround yourself with people who feel comfortable being honest with you, even if their opinions aren't what you want to hear. Key lesson of the chapter. Open-mindedness doesn't mean abandoning your principles. It means being willing to question your assumptions, learn from others, and adapt to new realities. This mindset not only improves the quality of your decisions but also allows you to grow continuously as a person. Chapter closing. Open-mindedness is one of the most transformative principles that Ray Dalio applied in his life and career. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to combine open-mindedness with data-driven decision-making to achieve exceptional results. Chapter 12. Reality-based decision-making. In this chapter, Ray Dalio explains how to combine open-mindedness with a data and fact-based approach to make effective decisions. For him, decision-making should not rely solely on intuition or emotions but on an objective and systematic analysis of reality. This principle was a cornerstone of his personal and professional success. The pursuit of objective truth. Ray begins by emphasizing that the quality of your decisions depends on your ability to see things as they truly are, not as you wish they were. This requires accepting uncomfortable truths and basing your decisions on concrete data, not assumptions. Reality is your friend, says Ray. If you don't face it as it is, your decisions will be based on illusions. One of the methods Ray used at Bridgewater Associates was cause and effect analysis. Before making a decision, he and his team would identify the underlying causes of a situation and how these factors influenced potential outcomes. This approach allowed them to anticipate problems and make more informed decisions. The importance of systems and algorithms. Ray explains that one of the most significant advancements in his career was the implementation of computer-based systems to support decision-making. These systems, built on historical data and predefined principles, helped Bridgewater eliminate emotional biases and make more consistent decisions. For example, in designing his all-weather strategy, Ray used mathematical models to analyze how different asset classes responded to various economic environments. This approach enabled him to build portfolios that could withstand any scenario from inflation to recession. However, Ray also notes that systems and algorithms are not a replacement for human judgment. Systems are tools, not masters, he states. The key is to combine human intuition and experience with the objective analysis that data provides. The 3 stages of decision-making. Ray breaks decision-making into 3 main stages. Gather reliable information. Before making a decision, it's essential to obtain accurate and relevant data. This includes seeking multiple perspectives, especially from people with more experience or expertise in the field. Evaluate options with logic and objectivity. Once you have the information, assess the possible alternatives based on their cost-benefit relationships. Ray advises asking yourself, what's the worst that could happen if this decision fails? Take decisive action. After evaluating your options, don't waste time second-guessing. Indecision is a form of failure, says Ray. Act and learn along the way. Overcoming emotional biases. Ray highlights that one of the greatest challenges in decision-making is overcoming emotional biases, such as the fear of failure or attachment to preconceived ideas. To counteract this, Ray recommends taking emotional distance. Analyze your decisions as if you were an outside observer, detaching from immediate emotions. Seeking honest feedback. Ask for input from people who aren't afraid to criticize you. This combination of open-mindedness and objective analysis allows for decisions that are not only well-informed but also adaptable to changing circumstances. Record and analyze your decisions. Keep track of your decisions and their outcomes to identify patterns of success or failure. Decision-making in uncertainty. Ray acknowledges that not all decisions are made with complete information. In such cases, he suggests adopting a probabilistic approach, evaluating possible outcomes and their respective probabilities. The goal is not to avoid risk but to manage it intelligently, he says. This principle was crucial for Bridgewater during events like the 2008 financial crisis, where calculated decisions made the difference between success and failure. Key lesson of the chapter. Reality-based decision-making combines open-mindedness, logical analysis, and objective systems to maximize the likelihood of success. This approach not only reduces errors but also increases confidence and consistency in your actions. Chapter closing. The ability to make decisions grounded in reality is an essential skill for achieving your goals. In the next chapter, we'll explore how Ray Dalio used this approach to build strong relationships and exceptional teams at Bridgewater Associates. Chapter 13. Building exceptional relationships and teams. In this chapter, Ray Dalio delves into one of the fundamental pillars of his success, building strong relationships and high-performing teams. For Ray, no one can achieve great goals alone, and the right relationships are essential for producing extraordinary results. This principle applied not only to his personal life but also to how he led Bridgewater Associates. The power of trust-based relationships. Ray begins by emphasizing the importance of trust as the foundation of any successful relationship. Without trust, relationships are superficial and fragile, he says. To build strong relationships, Ray learned to be transparent and honest, even when the truth was uncomfortable. This approach created an environment where people could be authentic and feel valued. At Bridgewater, this translated into a policy of radical transparency, where all team members were encouraged to speak candidly and share their opinions, regardless of their position in the company. This level of honesty built trust and enabled the team to work more effectively. Selecting the right people. Ray believes that the success of any team depends on having the right people in the right roles. From his experience, choosing individuals based on their values, skills, and personality is more important than any other factor. Hire people for who they are, not just for what they know, he advises. Ray identified 3 essential qualities in team members. Integrity. Without this quality, no skill or knowledge has value. Ability to learn and adapt. The world is constantly changing, and successful people are those who can evolve with it. Passion for excellence. A true commitment to doing things well and continuously improving. Creating a culture of idea meritocracy. Ray spent years building an organizational culture where the best ideas prevailed, regardless of who proposed them. This was achieved by fostering open debate and eliminating the fear of constructive conflict. Disagreement is not a bad thing. It's an opportunity to explore new perspectives and reach better conclusions, he explains. To support this culture, Ray introduced tools and systems that allowed the ideas of all team members to be recorded and analyzed. One such system was a credibility assessment, which assigned a score to each individual based on their history of successful decisions. This approach helped ensure decisions were made more objectively, based on data rather than emotions or hierarchies. Effective leadership, being strong and kind. Ray emphasizes that a good leader must strike a balance between being strong and kind. A strong leader inspires respect. A kind leader inspires loyalty, he says. In his experience, effective leadership is not about controlling or imposing but about guiding and empowering others to perform at their best. Ray also believed that being an effective leader involves being open to criticism and learning from it. Leadership isn't about having all the answers. It's about knowing how to ask the right questions, he asserted. Managing conflicts and disagreements. Ray views conflicts as inevitable in any team, but the way they are handled determines whether they strengthen or weaken relationships. At Bridgewater, disagreements were seen as opportunities for growth. To manage them, Ray followed 3 key principles. Listen before reacting. Understand the other person's perspective before responding. Focus on facts, not emotions. Keep discussions grounded in data and principles rather than personal attacks. Seek collaborative solutions. Work together to find common ground that benefits the team and shared objectives. The legacy of an exceptional team. Ray concludes this chapter by reflecting on how exceptional teams not only achieve great things but also build relationships that extend beyond the workplace. The people who shared his values and vision not only helped him achieve success at Bridgewater but also became lifelong allies and friends. Key lesson of the chapter. Strong relationships and exceptional teams are built on trust, honesty, and a shared commitment to excellence. Creating a culture of idea meritocracy and effective leadership enables teams to reach their full potential. Chapter closing. Building exceptional teams is not just a tool for business success but also a way to enrich personal life. In the next chapter, we will explore how Ray Dalio applied these principles to face global challenges and effectively manage crises. Chapter 14. Facing global challenges and managing crises. In this chapter, Ray Dalio shares his approach to handling crises and tackling global challenges, both in financial markets and business management. These experiences led him to develop principles that applied not only to his professional life but also to addressing complex and uncertain problems in any field. Crises as opportunities to learn. For Ray, crises are not merely negative events but unique opportunities to learn and evolve. Throughout his career, he faced multiple economic and business crises, from the stock market crash of 1987 to the financial crisis of 2008. In each case, he applied the same approach. Stay calm. Don't let emotions take control. Assess reality. Analyze the facts as they are, not as you wish them to be. Act quickly. Early and well-thought-out responses can make all the difference. One of the most significant events in his career was the 2008 financial crisis. Unlike many investors who suffered massive losses, Bridgewater Associates achieved gains for its clients. This success wasn't due to luck but rather to the systematic and principle-based approach that Ray and his team had developed. You can't predict exactly what will happen, but you can prepare for any scenario, he explains. Preparing for the unexpected. Ray emphasizes that one of the keys to managing crises is always being prepared for the unexpected. In the financial context, this means diversifying risks, maintaining adequate reserves, and creating strategies that can adapt to various environments. His all-weather strategy, designed to withstand any type of economy, exemplifies this approach. This model not only allowed Bridgewater to survive global crises but also became an industry standard in investment. For Ray, preparation is not just about protection but about capitalizing on the opportunities that arise during times of uncertainty. The principle of transparency during crises. In times of crisis, Ray always prioritized transparency with his team and clients. People need to know where they stand and where they're going, he said. This included honestly sharing challenges and maintaining open communication about the steps being taken to overcome them. At Bridgewater, this translated into regular meetings where the team discussed strategies and potential solutions. Ray insisted that the key to effective decision-making during crises is to listen to all voices and consider every option, even those that initially seem unlikely. Managing conflict in times of stress. Ray also addresses how crises tend to amplify conflicts within teams. If not handled properly, these disagreements can distract from the primary objective. In such situations, Ray recommends: focus on the problem, not the people. Keep discussions objective and fact-based. Encourage collaboration. Foster an environment where everyone works toward a common solution. Revisit principles. Remind the team of the core values that guide them and use these as a foundation for resolving conflicts. Learning from every crisis. Ray explains that at the end of every crisis, it is essential to conduct a thorough review of what worked and what didn't. This process of reflection helps identify key lessons and ensures continuous improvement moving forward. Strengthening systems for the future. For him, every crisis is an opportunity to refine principles and improve decision-making. An example of this was how Bridgewater adjusted its models after the 2008 financial crisis. Although they achieved good results, Ray identified areas where they could have been more efficient. This continuous learning was one of the reasons why the company maintained its leadership for decades. Key lesson of the chapter. Crises are inevitable, but they can be managed effectively if approached with preparation, transparency, and a principle-based approach. Facing challenges with calm and using each experience as an opportunity to learn strengthens both individuals and organizations. Chapter closing. Ray Dalio shows us that the key to overcoming any crisis is to approach problems with honesty, teamwork, and a mindset of constant learning. In the next chapter, we will explore how Ray's principles can be applied to build a sustainable and purposeful future. Chapter 15. Building a Sustainable and Purposeful Future. In this chapter, Ray Dalio reflects on how the principles that guided his personal and professional life can be applied to build a future that transcends individual and financial achievements. For Ray, true success lies in creating something sustainable and purposeful that benefits future generations. Legacy as a responsibility. Ray begins by explaining that as he reached his personal and professional goals, his perspective on success evolved. Instead of focusing solely on his achievements, he began to ask himself how he could use his knowledge and resources to contribute to the well-being of others. Legacy is not what you leave behind but the impact you have on the lives of others, he says. For Ray, this concept applies not only to individuals but also to companies and organizations. Any system that is not sustainable is doomed to fail over time. That's why he advocated for an approach that balances wealth generation with respect for people, communities, and the environment. The importance of principles in sustainability. Ray asserts that clear and well-defined principles are essential for building a sustainable future. This includes not only individual values but also those that guide organizations and societies. Principles are like the foundation of a building. If they are not solid, everything else will crumble, he explains. In the case of Bridgewater Associates, Ray developed systems that ensured the company could thrive without depending exclusively on him. This approach was key in guaranteeing that the organization would continue to be successful and relevant in the long term. Investing in future generations. One of the cornerstones of Ray's vision for a sustainable future is investing in the education and development of future generations. Ray firmly believes that teaching fundamental principles about economics, finance, and life to young people is one of the best ways to prepare society to face future challenges. In this regard, Ray began funding educational initiatives aimed at teaching practical skills and fostering critical thinking. If we understand how systems work and learn to manage them, we can build a more balanced and prosperous world, he states. Balancing progress and sustainability. Ray addresses the challenge of balancing economic progress with sustainability. For him, economic development should not come at the expense of social or environmental well-being. Rather than viewing these goals as opposing forces, Ray considers them complementary. True progress is that which benefits both people and the planet, he says. In his investments and philanthropic projects, Ray began focusing on initiatives that promoted sustainability, such as renewable energy, regenerative agriculture, and equitable access to essential resources. He believed that these areas not only offered economic opportunities but were also crucial for ensuring a stable and equitable future. A collaborative approach to global challenges. Ray also emphasizes the importance of collaboration in solving global problems such as inequality, climate change, and social conflicts. No individual or nation can solve these problems alone, he says. He advocates for a cooperative approach between governments, businesses, and communities to address these challenges comprehensively. This principle is reflected in how he led Bridgewater, fostering a culture of teamwork and open dialogue. For Ray, the same approach can be applied on a global level, where nations and organizations must work together to find sustainable solutions. Key lesson of the chapter. Building a sustainable and purposeful future requires solid principles, education for future generations, and a commitment to collaboration and balancing economic progress with social and environmental well-being. Chapter closing. Ray Dalio inspires us to reflect on how our actions and decisions can contribute to a more just and balanced world. In the next chapter, we will explore how Ray transformed these ideas into a tangible legacy that continues to impact people and organizations worldwide. Chapter 16. Transforming Ideas into a Tangible Legacy. As Ray Dalio neared the end of his active career, he focused his energy on turning his principles and lessons into a lasting legacy. This chapter explores how Ray transformed his ideas into concrete actions that have left a significant impact on finance, education, and society at large. The creation of principles as a universal tool. Ray decided that one of the best ways to share his legacy was to write his book, Principles, where he compiled the rules that had guided his personal and professional life. This book was not just a collection of his experiences, but also a tool designed for people to build their own principles and apply them in any area of life. Ray dedicated years to structuring the book, ensuring it was accessible and practical for a global audience. My goal is not for you to follow my principles verbatim, but to use this framework to develop your own, he explained. When the book was published in 2017, it became an international bestseller, impacting millions of people around the world. Educational initiatives for future generations. One of Ray's primary areas of focus was education. He firmly believed that teaching people how to think and make decisions based on principles could change the course of their lives. To achieve this, Ray funded educational programs that taught economics, finance, and personal development to both young people and adults. Among his notable contributions was the development of free digital resources to help people understand key economic concepts. Ray wanted financial knowledge to be accessible to everyone, regardless of their background or socioeconomic status. Education is the foundation of progress, he said. If you understand how systems work, you can change your life. The Dalio Foundation and Strategic Philanthropy. Ray also used his personal fortune to create the Dalio Foundation, an organization dedicated to addressing social and environmental issues. Through this foundation, Ray invested in areas such as environmental conservation, access to quality education, and the reduction of economic inequality. One of the foundation's most notable initiatives was its focus on climate change. Ray believed that confronting this crisis was essential to ensuring a sustainable future. For this reason, he funded projects related to renewable energy, reforestation, and innovative technologies for carbon capture. Bridgewater is part of his legacy. Although Ray retired from the day-to-day operations of Bridgewater Associates, the company remained a key part of his legacy. Its culture of radical transparency and meritocracy of ideas continued to influence how the organization was run, ensuring that Ray's principles remained at the core of its operations. Ray saw Bridgewater not just as a company but as a laboratory for continuous learning. Bridgewater's success is not in the money it generates, but in how it continues to evolve and adapt, he stated. The importance of inspiring others. Ray understood that his impact was not just in what he had accomplished, but in how he could inspire others to achieve their own goals. Through lectures, interviews, and his interactions with leaders around the world, Ray shared his ideas on leadership, decision-making, and building a purposeful life. One of the phrases he often repeated was, "It's not about where you start, but how much you're willing to learn and grow." This mindset led him to connect with people from different backgrounds and inspire new generations of entrepreneurs, investors, and leaders. Key lesson of the chapter. A tangible legacy is not built solely through personal achievements but through the ability to inspire, educate, and contribute to the well-being of others. Ray Dalio demonstrated that clear principles, strategic action, and a commitment to continuous learning can generate a lasting impact. Chapter closing. In this chapter, Ray Dalio showed how he transformed his ideas into concrete actions that left a mark on the world. In the next chapter, we will explore how his principles continue to guide people and organizations in facing the challenges of the future. Chapter 17. Principles for a constantly changing world. Ray Dalio has always emphasized the importance of adapting to change, a central theme in this chapter. In a world that is increasingly interconnected and full of uncertainties, Ray argues that the key to thriving lies in applying solid principles that allow one to face challenges in a flexible and strategic way. The inevitability of change. Ray begins by explaining that change is an inevitable constant in life and business. Throughout his career, he witnessed how unexpected events, such as financial crises, technological advances, and social transformations deeply altered markets and global dynamics. You can't stop change, but you can prepare for it, he says. For Ray, preparing for change means observing historical patterns and learning from them. This includes studying how economies and societies have evolved over time and recognizing that the same forces tend to repeat themselves under different circumstances. The importance of adaptability. Ray emphasizes that adaptability is one of the most important skills for facing change. This involves being willing to question your assumptions, adjust your strategies, and learn continuously. Change forces you to be humble, he states. If you're not willing to adapt, the world will keep moving forward without you. At Bridgewater, Ray applied this principle by fostering a culture of constant learning. Every mistake and every success was analyzed to identify lessons that could be applied in the future. This approach allowed the company to remain relevant even in times of great uncertainty. Collaboration in an interconnected world. In this chapter, Ray also reflects on how globalization and technology have made the world more interconnected than ever. This creates opportunities but also challenges, as local problems can have global repercussions. Ray advocates for a collaborative approach to tackling these challenges. No individual or nation can thrive in isolation, he says. For him, cooperation between people, organizations, and governments is essential to addressing issues like inequality, climate change, and economic crises. Anticipating cycles. Ray explains that one of the greatest benefits of studying principles and historical patterns is the ability to anticipate cycles. From financial markets to political and social dynamics, cycles are a recurring feature of change. Ray advises observing early signs of these cycles and preparing for their inevitable ups and downs. An example of this is how Ray and his team at Bridgewater predicted the financial crisis of 2008. Although they couldn't foresee all the details, their understanding of economic cycles allowed them to prepare better than most investors. Change is not always predictable, but principles can help you navigate it, he states. Building personal and organizational resilience. Ray argues that facing change requires not only adaptability but also resilience. For him, resilience is the ability to bounce back quickly from setbacks and keep moving forward. This involves building strong systems, maintaining a positive mindset, and surrounding yourself with supportive people during tough times. At Bridgewater, resilience was built through radical transparency and a commitment to principles. In his personal life, Ray found resilience through his meditation practice and the meaningful relationships he cultivated with family and friends. Key lesson of the chapter: change is an inevitable constant, but with clear principles, adaptability, and resilience, you can not only face it but thrive in the midst of it. The key is to learn continuously, collaborate with others, and prepare for the cycles that the future will inevitably bring. Chapter closing. Ray Dalio teaches us that in a constantly changing world, principles act as an anchor that keeps you grounded while navigating the turbulent waters of life. In the next chapter, we will explore how these principles can be applied to lead with purpose and build a lasting impact. Chapter 18. Leading with Purpose. In this chapter, Ray Dalio addresses the crucial role of principle-based leadership and how this approach can make a significant difference in the success of organizations and individuals. For Ray, leadership is not just about directing others, but inspiring them to reach a greater purpose, guided by clear and consistent values. Purpose as the guide for leadership. Ray begins by highlighting that an effective leader needs a clear purpose. This purpose should not only align with their personal values but also be meaningful to the team or organization they lead. A clear purpose gives you direction and motivates others to follow you, he says. For Ray, leading with purpose means working towards something that transcends individual achievements, such as building a sustainable organization, solving a significant problem, or contributing to societal well-being. In his case, the purpose behind Bridgewater Associates was not just to make money but to create a culture of learning and excellence that could serve as a model for others. The leader as architect of culture. Ray asserts that one of the leader's most important roles is to establish and maintain a strong organizational culture. At Bridgewater, this meant fostering a culture of radical transparency, meritocracy of ideas, and commitment to continuous improvement. A leader, according to Ray, should act as an architect who designs the environment where people can thrive. This includes defining clear principles. Principles are the fundamental rules that guide decision-making and behavior within an organization. Modeling expected behavior. A leader must practice what they preach to earn the trust and respect of their team. Promoting feedback. The ability to accept criticism and use it to improve is a sign of strong leadership. Leading with transparency and humility. Ray emphasizes that the most effective leaders are not those who pretend to know everything but those who are willing to learn from others. A good leader listens more than they talk, he says. This means being open to opposing ideas, accepting mistakes, and making decisions based on data and principles, not ego or emotions. At Bridgewater, Ray implemented systems to ensure that all employees, regardless of their position, could question leadership decisions and contribute their ideas. This approach not only strengthened decisions but also fostered a sense of belonging and commitment within the team. The balance between strength and empathy. Ray points out that a leader must find the balance between being firm and being empathetic. A strong leader inspires respect. An empathetic leader inspires loyalty, he says. Firmness is necessary for making tough decisions and maintaining discipline, while empathy allows you to build deep relationships and understand the needs of the team. This balance was particularly important for Ray during times of crisis. For example, during the 2008 financial crisis, he had to make quick, difficult decisions to protect the interests of his clients, while ensuring he supported his team during a time of great stress. Developing leaders within the team. Ray believes that one of a leader's most important legacies is developing new leaders. This involves identifying people with potential, providing them with the tools and support they need, and allowing them to take on responsibilities gradually. A leader's true success is not measured by what they achieve, but by the leaders they leave behind, he says. At Bridgewater, Ray dedicated time to training his team in his principles and methods, ensuring they could lead the organization even in his absence. This approach was key to ensuring the sustainability and continuity of the company. Key lesson of the chapter. Leading with purpose is not just about directing. It's about inspiring, building a strong culture, and developing new generations of leaders. Transparency, humility, and commitment to a greater purpose are the essential qualities of an effective leader. Chapter closing. Principle-based leadership with purpose can transform not only organizations but also lives. In the next chapter, we will explore how Ray Dalio connects all his principles to build a comprehensive framework that can be applied in every aspect of life. Chapter 19. Connecting Principles into a Comprehensive Framework. In this chapter, Ray Dalio presents how all the principles he has developed and applied throughout his life can be integrated into a coherent and practical framework. This framework not only allowed him to achieve success in business and personal life, but also offers a guide for anyone who wishes to build a system that helps them navigate challenges and seize opportunities. The power of principles as a unified system. Ray explains that individual principles are like pieces of a puzzle. Each one serves a specific purpose, but only when connected do they form a complete picture. Life is like a machine, he says. If you understand the pieces and how they work together, you can make it work better. His framework is based on 3 fundamental pillars. Admit and face reality. This principle is the starting point. Acknowledging the facts, even the uncomfortable ones, allows for informed decision-making. Repeatable and proven processes. Every experience, whether a success or failure, must be analyzed to extract lessons that can be applied in the future. A system based on principles. Making decisions and acting consistently requires clear principles to guide every step. The connection between personal and professional life. Ray argues that the same principles he applied in his career can also be applied to personal life. For example, the principle of radical transparency not only worked at Bridgewater, but also in his family. Ray and his wife adopted an approach of open communication, fostering honest conversations even on difficult topics. Another key principle that connects both areas is learning from mistakes. In his personal life, Ray used this principle to improve his relationships, address conflicts, and build a united family. Life and work are not separate compartments. They are intertwined and benefit from the same principles, he says. Designing your own machine. Ray encourages readers to design their own framework of principles based on their experiences, values, and goals. My principles are not a universal recipe. They are a template you can adapt to your own life, he explains. The process for building this framework includes continuous reflection. Take time to analyze your experiences and the decisions you've made. Documenting principles. Write down the lessons you learned so you don't forget them and can apply them in the future. Iteration and improvement. Adjust your principles over time to adapt to new circumstances and challenges. The importance of consistency. Ray emphasizes that the true power of a framework of principles lies in its consistency. Making decisions based on a set of clear rules reduces stress, increases confidence, and improves results. However, he also warns against excessive rigidity. You must be consistent but not inflexible. Adaptability is key to success. Practical examples of the framework in action. Ray illustrates how his framework helped him navigate key moments in his career. From complex financial predictions to tough leadership decisions at Bridgewater, the principles framework provided him with a clear approach to solving problems and moving forward. He also shares how the framework allowed him to address conflicts in his personal life, build strong relationships, and balance the demands of work with the needs of his family. Key lesson of the chapter. An integrated framework of principles can help you face any challenge and build a consistent and meaningful life. This framework is not static. It should evolve with you and adapt to your circumstances and goals. Chapter closing. Connecting all principles into a coherent system not only provides clarity but also a reliable guide for navigating the ups and downs of life. In the next chapter, the final one of this audiobook, Ray Dalio will share his final vision and the principles he considers essential for living a full life. Chapter 20. Final Reflections and Living a Fulfilling Life. In this final chapter, Ray Dalio shares his final reflections and the essential principles he believes are key to living a full and meaningful life. After decades of learning, failures, and successes, Ray invites us to apply these principles consciously, with the goal of building a life aligned with our deepest values. Life as a journey of continuous learning. Ray begins by highlighting that life is an endless process of learning and improvement. Every experience, whether positive or negative, is an opportunity to grow and develop new principles. Real progress happens when you learn from what you do and use those lessons to improve, he says. For Ray, this mindset of continuous learning is not only essential for success but also for maintaining an interesting and meaningful life. The desire to learn is what motivated him to continue exploring new ideas and challenges even after achieving financial success. The balance between purpose and happiness. Ray reflects on the balance between pursuing a purpose and enjoying the present. He explains that while it is important to have ambitious goals, it is also crucial to value the simple moments in life, such as spending time with family, enjoying a hobby, or simply being present. Purpose gives you direction, but happiness is in the journey, he says. This balance between working toward a goal and enjoying the present is something Ray considers one of the keys to a fulfilling life. Meaningful relationships as the foundation of a fulfilling life. Ray emphasizes that deep and authentic relationships are one of the greatest factors of happiness and success. Money and achievements have no value if you don't have people to share them with, he explains. Throughout his life, Ray prioritized building relationships based on trust, respect, and honesty. Whether with his family, friends, or colleagues, these connections were fundamental to his well-being and personal satisfaction. Accepting uncertainty and enjoying the process. Ray concludes that life is full of uncertainties, and learning to accept them is essential to living fully. Instead of worrying about what you can't control, Ray advises focusing on what you can influence and enjoying the process of growth and change. Life is like sailing on an ocean. You can't always control the wind, but you can adjust your sails, he says. Ray Dalio's most essential principles. To close, Ray shares the principles he considers most important for anyone who wants to build a meaningful life. Be honest with yourself and others. Truth is the foundation for growth and meaningful relationships. Learn from mistakes. Every mistake is an opportunity to learn something valuable. Define your goals and work toward them. Without clear goals, it is difficult to make progress. Be adaptable. Life is constantly changing, and adaptability is key to thriving. Value meaningful relationships. They are the greatest source of happiness and support. Enjoy the journey. Don't just focus on the destination. Find joy in the process. Key lesson of the chapter. The key to a fulfilling life is not only in achieving goals but in living aligned with your principles, enjoying the process, and building meaningful relationships. Life is a journey of continuous learning, and every experience can enrich your path. Chapter closing and farewell. Ray Dalio concludes his book by thanking those who have inspired and challenged him throughout his life. His final message is an invitation to develop our own principles and live authentically and meaningfully. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Principles by Ray Dalio. We hope this experience has been as inspiring and transformative for you as it was for us. Keep learning, keep growing, and above all, live with purpose. We'll see you in the next audiobook from Audio Mentors. Goodbye for now.